Hello and welcome to another Behind the Screens talk. I am Sean Sunday, Ardent Roleplay's Community Manager, and today I am talking with John from Meeples and Dragons. Thanks, John, for joining us for another talk today.
Thanks for having me.
It's our pleasure. It's great to work with other local businesses that are sort of doing the same thing that we're doing, and obviously you guys are partnering up with us on some projects, so that's really cool. So, John, tell us what Meeples and Dragons is.
Well, Meeples and Dragons, it's sort of like a brainchild between my wife and I. Primarily, we're an online store here over in Australia where we specialise in a lot of your tabletop products, your board games, and your RPGs. But we decided to put a bit of a spin on it a little bit and decided to focus more on a community aspect, where we go out and partner with unique creators, both locally as well as overseas, to try to bring in and make and create and bring to our shores unique products. And that's sort of what we're about. But we're also creators as well. We make we like to make imagery and put them on a variety of products and that sort of thing. Plus, we're a huge supporter of your crowdfunding projects and like to get involved and try to expose them to the Australian audience a little bit more, which people are finding it more and more difficult these days to access.
Yeah, that's always an important one, is finding people who are supportive of creators when they're crowdfunding, and it's really nice to know that there are some local companies backing people for their projects and their visions, and it's really cool to have someone that's sourcing all of this stuff from the smaller creators, because it's really easy for a lot of stores to just bring in all the licensed stuff and all the big popular stuff, but there's so many amazing indie creators out there that are making cool things, and it's really cool seeing everything new that you guys add to the store and sitting here with greedy little fingers waiting to get some.
Well, that's good to hear. And to be honest, we actually like engaging with a lot of the indie creators. They're very down to earth people who just have a passion for their hobby and their own creation. It's quite easy to get super excited about something and nothing even exists yet, and it's always nice to see that. Just you don't always get that.
Yeah,
Well, if you
exactly.
try to you never get that once you deal with a distributor.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. It's always, and that's the thing as well. It's always nice to find a store that will want to deal with you directly as a creator, as well, because obviously part of the whole thing that makes it able to sell your product is that passion. Is for people to see how excited you are about the thing, and then they can get excited about the thing.
Mm.
So, obviously you play D&D as well. So,
Yes.
what's your go-to character combo?
Well, I'm a GM, so it's pretty much everything. But when I'm not a GM, the character combo, it's a lot of people tend to focus on class, and that's not usually how I operate. I like to focus on creating a persona or a character, and of late I've been really enjoying the broken sort of character motifs. So, and of that, I like to focus of late. I'm really enjoying playing very young characters.
Mm-hmm.
So, uh, early teens, almost, almost children, to be perfectly honest. Where they're usually forced to become an adult a little bit earlier, and then I build the class and
Yeah.
the choices around that. And what I like to do is I like to be able to, I guess, age the character as they level. And I don't know, it just seems to be a lot more engaging, um, for me as a player, and I can get into the character a little bit better. But at the moment, my two favourites along those lines are uh, have two characters that I go to. One's a female and one's a male. One is Catherine, aka Kitty the Cat. She is an orphan rogue, having a bit of problems bringing her over to 5e because she was supposed to be a rogue with cross-class into Sorcerer, but she was supposed to have a familiar from the very start, and everyone knows the Sorcerer class has a lot of problems getting familiars. But the trick with the character was she didn't know it was a familiar. It was essentially her pet, and then it just starts talking to her. As long as I can get the GM on side, the GM controls the cat until she becomes the Sorcerer, which she can control. And the other one is Rowan Shadeleaf, who is also a young teen. He is a Warlock who inadvertently gives away his elder sister to a Fey being of Shadow, and he accidentally essentially, due to his own being so naive, he gives away his sister in exchange for powers, and then he's forever trying to find out who this mysterious patron is and how to get his sister back. Bit of an edgelordy feel to it, but he's still very, very, very naive and is constantly on the pursuit of knowledge.
Yeah, I get that. That's really interesting as well. As for me, I don't tend to focus on class either. I do tend to accidentally gravitate towards rogues.
Well, they're the most versatile.
Yeah, not all of my characters are rogues, but yeah, I do find that they are really versatile for the kind of personalities I choose. Because I go into Hero Forge. I start there.
Yeah.
And I'll just start throwing bits together and feeling something out, and I'll be like, yes, this guy looks right, and he does this, and he does this, and I want him to do that. Okay, so he needs to be one of these. And I start thinking about like abilities and character traits that I want the character to have first, and then I'll go and have a look at all my different options and pick a class from there. My current favorite for that is, well, one of my first I ever created was Lazarus Swiftbolt, and he's my DM PC as a backup for when I've got a very small party.
So rogue?
He is a Eldritch Knight. But his specialty is combat enhancement magic. So he has jump, feather fall, fog cloud, and then the only combat spell he has is shocking grasp.
Yeah, I see where we're going with this. Yep.
Yeah, so he just to make him better at fighting rather than
a mover around the battlefield.
Yeah, because his whole backstory is he's a gladiator. So anything that can make him more showy and entertaining in the pit, he goes for that. And he's got this homebrew crossbow I made, which is a heavy repeating crossbow. But it can only be used every other turn because it requires a full action and a cartridge to reload. So he can either go thump, 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 take a group of people out, or discharge the entire cartridge in one go. But then he can't use it for like 2 turns. So that's just sort of the backup character for if I've got 2 party members and they're getting in trouble. But
lay out a barrage.
Yeah. His shock and awe sort of thing. But I let the players control what they need, and if they say they need some backup, then he'll come in and unshoulder the big crossbow. But my favorite at the moment is actually my ongoing character in my home game, which is Alistair Ray, or A Ray.
I've heard about this
short.
one, yeah. Yep.
And he's a Simic hybrid, so he's got little manta ray wings.
Oh, Stroof.
And he's just leveled up to level 5, so now he's got acid glands as well, and can spit acid. Yep. But he's had a fascination with trying to steal as much acid as possible and use it in a slingshot for a while.
So he's gone with a full-blown glance now.
But he was originally a half-elf, and he grew up in Neverwinter and then was in Waterdeep stealing crap. And then he broke into a place and found this big glowing thing that he was going to steal, and then all of a sudden it enveloped him and turned him into a Simic hybrid. And so since then, he's been flying around causing trouble, and he's got very, very high charisma. So his specialty is trying to lie his way in or out of trouble. It works 2 times out of 3. Well, when it doesn't work real bad.
Well, that's the best times, isn't it? That's the one you always remember when you don't succeed at everything.
But thankfully, I've got a really permissive DM who told us we could use pretty much anything from any wizard's book and the Unearthed Arcana subclasses.
Oh, Stroof.
So he's a Soul Knife rogue.
Mm-hmm.
So he cannot be disarmed because he's got psychic knives. So,
yeah, we've been playing with the Unearthed Arcana a little bit. I let one of my players play with the I think it's Path of Mercy on the monk.
Yeah,
he's really enjoying it.
Yeah, we gave Robin the wild magic path for their barbarian.
Oh, Struth.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so Hera the half-orc, wild magic barbarian. So that is an interesting combination.
Oh, I can just imagine when they're raging and that thing goes off.
Yeah. Yeah, so actually, and on that note of resources and all the books and things like that we can find, you have a Facebook group for fans of the store and the community to access D&D resources that you find, and so that's a really cool idea. So tell us a bit about that group and your history with D&D, because I've seen that you've got a lot of resources in there that I didn't even know about. So.
Well, the group is called M&D D&D Resources. The intention is to eventually create one group for each RPG IP, with the hope that everyone just shares all their resources. The reason why you're probably seeing a lot of those resources, if you've ever seen some of those resources before, is that I've been playing D&D on and off for the last 20 years. So in that time, I've accumulated quite a few bookmarks online to this whole host of different resources, links, things I haven't even read yet. And I've loaded up a few of them in more recent days, and I'm seeing things like version 3, 3.5, and I'm just, wow, I didn't even remember I had this. But as for why we created it, what I was noticing online when I started to engage more on social media, because at heart I'm a bit of an introvert, but when I started to engage more on social media and started to join a lot of the groups, I kept seeing the same questions pop up again and again and again. What are the best resources for sound? Has anyone found some best ways to create NPCs? And just so many of the same questions. What's the best thing to do when you're starting as a GM? Session 0 discussions. And I answered it once, answered it twice. I'm saying, why am I answering it 3 or 4 times? Why am I answering the same questions? Wouldn't it just be a simple case of putting in one location for people? So that's why we ended up creating the group. And it's just been a matter of I drop in a couple of resources once or twice a week. I think I'm behind this week. And just keep the information coming. And the more people that put them there, the better off, the more accessible it becomes, and the easier it is for GMs to create the games and players to play it.
Yeah. That makes
sense. In terms of experience, mate, I'm originally from a country town where I wasn't actually allowed to play D&D. My mother listened to the grapevine and believed some bad things about the RPG. So I wasn't able to access it until I went to university. Since that time, she has since apologized because she completely misunderstood everything. But yeah, that's where I originally came from.
No, I get that. And actually, I can think of another IP that you're going to have to add a group for soon.
Which was that?
A Hero Quest.
Yes.
With it getting a shiny new coat of paint.
That was an old fan favorite. I wasn't allowed to play D&D, but I could play Heroes Quest.
They're off screen, but I've got like half my Hero Quest set just here waiting to paint. And
it was funny because I was rebuilding it. I have a variety of minis, but I'd lost the board. The intention was to completely rebuild it, but when that came out, so wow, one less thing I have to do.
Oh, you should have told me. I've got digital versions of everything that, there's a website dedicated to
Yeah,
homebrew.
I'm on that. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that one. And some of the 3D printed Hero Quest stuff that's out there right now is really cool. People making full 3D printed tiles of the board.
Oh yeah, nice.
Yeah, it's really nice. And a lot of people have gone through and modeled all of the expansion packs, so if you're missing bits.
Yeah.
But then also, like, full customized stuff all over Thingiverse for Hero Quest in the last 12 months. When I first started 3D printing a couple of years ago, there was almost nothing, so I started getting them modeled myself. And then a couple of weeks ago, I jumped on and had a look, and there's like 500 Hero Quest models available on Thingiverse, and they're all amazing.
I'd like to see them to. I'd like for them to bring back the other two expansion sets, particularly the one where you could actually have hirelings follow you into the dungeons, which was pretty awesome.
I'd say they probably will. I reckon they're just going to stick with what they've outlaid as the stretch goals for now. Yeah. And then, like, next year, you'll see another 3 or 4 expansion packs released.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. But I love the fact that they decided to do the multiple genders in the box.
I'm really glad that they updated that.
Stroke of genius. An absolute stroke of genius.
Yeah, 'cause when I got my new copy and I started playing with Robin and a few other friends and stuff, I actually went out and bought as many different D&D minis as I could to convert to Hero Quest bases for that reason.
Yeah.
And, like, I'm actually working on a bunch of custom content that I've been working on since way back before I started playing D&D, so Hero Quest getting a resurgence is very exciting for me.
Well, you want to hear a funny story? The group I used to play with Hero Quest back in the day, we used to play Heroes Quest, Space Quest, and Battle Masters.
I want Space Crusade so bad.
Space Crusade. They are called a Space Quest, yeah, Space Crusade. But we played it so often that we kind of got bored with it, so we just sat down and we completely made a brand new game. It had a terrible nickname. It was called Misery Me. We had one person with the color printer, one person with all these additional minis. That was me, and the other person who was just really good at painting. So we just went through and we created a brand new game, which just allowed us to have as many different board games set up. So we actually broke the board up into tiles.
Yeah.
Just things you do when you're a teenager just to get a little bit of more fun in it.
Yeah, I actually wanted a copy of Advanced Hero Quest for that reason too, because everything's all separate tiles.
See, we couldn't get it. We couldn't get Advanced Heroes Quest back in the day. They didn't have it at the local hobby store, so we couldn't get it.
You can't really get it now either without paying $700 for it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing what comes into your D&D group soon, and I look forward to that Hero Quest group.
Yeah. I hadn't actually considered Heroes Quest, but yeah, I'll definitely keep that in mind.
Yeah, I think it'd be worth your while once this game actually hits Australian shores, especially.
Well, if I set one up, you're going to have to help me populate it, because I won't have much in the way of the resources on that one.
Can do. I'm actually in the process of converting, like, everything monster I can in 5e into Hero Quest stats.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Yeah, I've got about 20 done so far, but I haven't done the art for the cards yet.
I actually like the board games which have that sort of they're not an RPG, but it's almost borderline.
Yeah, well, I call Hero Quest Baby's first RPG.
Yeah, and it just helps convert people over to the RPG genre, which, to be honest, you want people in. You're like, board games are fun and as a great filler, and there's so many variety, but when given a choice, most people pick an RPG if they've played it before.
And that's it. Like, everyone that was in my original Hero Quest group in the last few years now plays D&D.
No surprise there. Yeah. Absolutely none.
Yeah, and that's it. There's so many custom adventures and stuff out there for Hero Quest. I'm writing one right now that I can't wait to play. So nice. I'm going to do it. I'm doing it as both a 5e and a Hero Quest adventure.
Don't give me ideas, mate. I've got too many hobbies at the moment.
That's all right. No, you see, this is just the thing, that you and Sarah are going to have to come on the show next year once this adventure's ready. So I can put you through the paces.
Definitely.
All right, so moving on from the group, you're stocking our AR cards now in the Meeples and Dragons store.
That's correct. That'll be coming up live with the Spiel release.
Yes, and that's amazing. That's really cool as well. So, aside from, obviously, our cool cards, What are your coolest or favorite products that you have right now?
The favorite ones. Well, I can't say everything, so I guess a lot of the probably there's a couple that probably probably need a little bit more should get more attention than they deserve. And this one you might find a little bit interesting because you were mentioning Heroes Quest. Um, we jumped into a Kickstarter last year for the Legends of Novus board game, and that game in itself is literally it's almost like D&D for dummies, not for dummies for board gamers.
Yeah.
And it's a great little game where you do control a character. It does level up, and it's it doesn't have the level of setup that something like Gloomhaven does. So you can quickly set it up and quickly start running, and people they really enjoy it. We were able to score ourselves 10 copies. A couple of people have already purchased it, and I've got mine sitting on the shelf. But that's a great little title. The other ones that haven't really been getting too much attention, probably you got some here. And this, you may also be interested in this because I know you like your paper minis. These are called the GTG minis. They're not available for. You can't get them at distributors yet because we joined in. You kickstarted it too, mate.
Yeah.
What's printable heroes in plastic?
I'm mates with the designers, so I was in a Discord with those guys for the last couple of years. So as soon as I knew that Trash Mob and Marshall were both on it, I was like, yes, gimme.
Oh, they're fantastic, and I love the bases because you can just
I didn't get the bases unfortunately, but I do have some bases I've already 3D printed that I'm going to use.
Yeah, just make sure you get the curve, mate, because that it just holds up by itself, and it's plastic. And they're awesome quality. But they're really good. I haven't popped them or anything yet because I want to do an episode of the bits on them. Mm-hmm.
But
I was afraid that they were going to break when I was pushing them out because I'm so used to pushing out your cardboard tokens from your board games.
Yeah.
Not one.
Yeah,
so easy. So you're afraid it's gonna, but it won't.
Yeah, no, they're good because they're kind of polyvinyl. So they're really nice, and I was really excited when you guys posted that you were getting those in because I could only afford one pack, but I got the stretch goal pack as well.
Okay. Yep.
So I was like, yeah, I'm gonna need more of those eventually.
Well, I've put them up, and every single time I'm like, I might just take another one for my game. I haven't got these yet. And Sarah's like, leave them. They're for your customers. You can't just keep pulling them out off the product shelf. I'm like, okay. But I need them for my game.
That is the peril. And I think I will have to have a look at getting a copy of that Legends of Novus off you. Because
it's a pretty good game.
I would love to, once it's safe again, get a group together and do a streamed game of it. I
definitely.
think that would be pretty fun.
But I guess I won't take too much on the product side of things because down that rabbit hole is really quick. But the last one was, the last two would probably be these Dragon Baggins, these guys.
I love that.
These are fantastic. And this one is one of the handmaids that we had custom done. They're made by, I'm going to call a local. She's only just across the water in New Zealand. But these things are just phenomenal. The amount of dice this thing actually holds. They're rated at 100, but it's more than 100. But the artist finally finished her Kickstarter, and once again, that was another one we went in with, and she was able to create a manufactured line, and they're basically the same. They're almost as soft as the handmade, and they're absolutely a fraction of the cost because these guys, although we do have them in the store, they are on the sort of the pricier side of things, like 160, 100, 200. Where the little guys, they're $55. So
that's pretty cool. Yeah. All right. Well, now I'm actually probably going to get one then because I couldn't stretch to the handmade, but I really, really wanted one after seeing them at Supernova last year.
Yeah. Well, the little guys, I call them little guys. They're the same size, but they're available in 3 colors, 3 different sets. I think it's your rainbow, black and red, as well as purple and teal.
Yeah, I like the black and red one.
Oh, that's good. I've got a few of them.
Excellent.
And I'm certain you will be. Everyone is literally interested in these, and this is not going to show up very well. This is the glasses.
Yes, I love those.
Yeah, they were. Did you know that we originally started them at the start of the year, and it was literally just supposed to be a bit of a fun thing
Hmm.
for Sarah and I. Sarah had the idea, and then to create two glasses and have a bit of a for Valentine's Day and have a game session for
Yep.
Valentine's Day. Um, it didn't eventuate because the little one got sick, but that was the idea. And I'm thinking, well, if you're getting two done, why don't you just get all of them done? Because we have all these details. It'd be nice to have a set. And so we're sitting there plugging away, getting this project up and done. We spent, I don't know, about 2 weeks researching it over the Christmas break, and getting everything locked in. And then Sarah turns to me and says, "We're going to all this effort for ourselves. Why don't we just, why don't you just throw it on our web store? We've got one. See if people would be interested." It's like, oh well, there's less than 6 weeks to Valentine's Day. You're not going to give them much time. We had no idea how long it would take to deliver the glass, pack them up,
Yeah.
and send them off because it's a completely new product. So we spoke to our supplier, who was actually Australian based, um, and they just gave us some windows of opportunity. But ultimately, the product was only on our web store for less. I think it's only about a week. We got a couple of buyers, and in each instance, they just bought the whole set. We're like, okay, that makes things easier. And the window of opportunity disappeared, and we thought, that's that. But then the socials caught wind of it, and everyone's like, "Oh, I really need these glasses. Where are they? Where are they on their website? How much are they? I really need them." I'm like, this wasn't supposed to be a continual product. It was just a once-off that we didn't even consider
Yep.
letting people buy them. So the last 9 months, we've been working on them quite diligently to get them as a product that we can sell, and that we continue to sell, and making some deals with some local suppliers, and they're all set, ready to go. To be released at Spiel as well. But using Spiel is like the be all and end all. So getting a bit of attention online, and I hope people really enjoy a little passion project.
Yeah, well, I know everyone I've shown them to has loved them.
Oh, that's
And
good.
I love them. I can't have too many of them, but I'm eyeing off probably two specific ones.
Fair enough. Which is your the ones you like?
Well, obviously, I'm mostly a forever DM, so
Yeah.
there's that. And then it's like a toss-up between the rogue or the fighter.
Oh, really? Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, because I've got a couple of characters that fit into both. I don't play many straight... Actually, I might be playing my first straight-up caster very soon.
Okay.
So that may change, depending on
you
how
mean
much fun I have playing
Wizard, sorcerer, or
with. Sorcerer.
sorcerer?
Storm Sorcerer. Purely for the drummer. He's going to be an absolute himbo. Open shirt, jacked, no sleeves.
Oh, God.
Everything is gold. And he uses the special ability of the Storm Sorcerer to use a gust of wind to move before or after taking an action. Just to, like, fly dramatically into or out of battle.
I'm done here. Fly away.
Exactly.
The rest
You're
of you
beneath
can,
me.
take over the little ones.
Yeah, I was leaning towards either him or was it a? Can't remember if it was a Warlock. I was contemplating a Furbog Fey Pact Warlock.
Oh.
Spell Sniper
Okay.
with
That'd make an interesting mix.
Ice Bolt as the spell for the Spell Sniper. So it
The
was like,
Warlock is one of my favourite classes.
yeah, and well, actually, that Alistair that I was telling you about before isn't just a rogue anymore. He was laying on the ground dying, and he always carried around this coin that he used to ask Timora for a little luck. And my DM decided to offer me a deal. And he's now a Celestial Pact Warlock of Timora.
Well, that's the best thing about the Warlocks. They give so much for the GM to play with.
Oh yeah, and I'm just
and they
waiting.
can just go to town.
I'm glad he went Celestial Pact, because if he'd gone anything else, he might have had too much ammo for me. But it is still Dungeon Dive Dan, and he's a really good DM, but he knows how to make you regret things. I was gunning
Consequences, mate. It's called consequences.
Yeah, I was gunning for Trickster Cleric, and now I'm a Warlock. So we'll see what happens.
The same thing. Hey, for a while there, don't laugh. For a while there, a lot of people thought Jester from CR was really a Warlock.
Yes, I do remember hearing about that.
Lovely fan theory. I'm like, would Mercer do that? Maybe, but no, he wouldn't do that to Laura.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to the animated series of that coming out, because I haven't actually watched the show. I do struggle with watching long-term actual plays.
Mm-hmm.
I can watch a one-shot or maybe a two-shot, but I struggle with long-term ones, and I struggle with ones that are more than 2 hours, 3 hours max.
Yeah.
With my ADHD. So I could never get into Critical Role as much as I love all the work that they're doing. Mm-hmm. So when I found out they were doing the animated feature and then it turned into a whole series, I'm like, right, now I will enjoy that story. So,
well, there is a trick to Critical Role and watching them that I find works for me, because I am way behind on that show. I've been following them very early days because I had a moment of there. A lot of time where I couldn't play D&D. Real life just got in the way at the time. But so I used to. The trick I found with them was to play it in the background while you're working.
See, I tried that, but because so much of them is audio stuff more than like video context, I kept losing the thread.
Fair enough then.
So I could watch the animated series in the background because there is like all that visual context. So if I miss something someone said, but I see what happened on the screen, I'm like, oh yeah, I can fill in the blank. But I've tried that, and I just go, wait, what just happened? I tried that with the Adventure Zone as well. So at the moment, I can only sort of listen to that in short stretches with Robin because we watch the animatics.
Okay. But regarding the whole CR Kickstarter, that was fun to watch, and we just got in the last minute with certain funds, and we scored the sign script.
Nice. Yeah, I couldn't afford to back that one at the time.
No. They had some very expensive tiers, but we just had to. We just had to get that level.
No, that's cool. I am really looking forward to seeing that come out and actually finally finding out what this story is all about.
The Dolores, Percy's last name, I can never say it, but the Whitestone arc was a pretty good arc.
I remember seeing something about the green guy casting a sword into a volcano or some business.
That's not in the White.
No, not that arc. Just in general, like that's a moment I remember seeing everybody losing their.
Yeah, campaign 2. Yeah, campaign 2. I'm only just slightly past that. Forden is Ford's a Warlock.
Okay. Yep.
Okay, so giving the context, that was his pact weapon.
That makes sense. Cool. All right.
Like I said, GMs and Warlocks gives them a lot to play with.
It does. Right, so we sort of touched on it a little bit with the last question as well, but besides supporting local indie creators, you have started developing some products that are just Meeples and Dragons exclusive.
Yes.
So tell us more about those. Like, obviously those glasses are a Meeple and Dragons special.
Okay. Well, originally it comes down to if you jump back in time, what we were finding in like 2019 when we went searching for some products, we found it quite difficult to get a product line which would completely cover the entire D&D range. Now we focused on D&D initially because D&D is the most prolific of the RPGs. So we got together with an artist several artists. We went through a couple until we found one that we really worked with, and that's how we wanted to create a range of images which were gender neutral as much as possible, um, and spoke more towards the role-playing aspect of the class designs. Because from our point of view, it's not hard to find imagery on classes if it's based around dice, weapons, all that sort of stuff. And no fault to the artists for those. That's the way they chose to portray them. So we created this range, and when we created all the images, we had some ideas on what products to put them on. Originally, we thought of going to China and getting some products done, but we discovered a few problems with doing that because when we went to create it, they wanted. We didn't want to compromise on the idea of what we wanted, and for us to do it, we would have had to drop. I think it was about $40,000 on the product, and we're like, well, geez, this is our first product. That's a bit of a risk. And then there were elements like testing and all those sort of stuff, and I don't really want to go into it too much because it was. I didn't want my entire house filled with about. I think it was minimum order was about 13,000. Yeah, it wasn't something that was a small project. The concept was great, but it wasn't going to work. We did hunt around in Australia to see if someone could do it for us, but absolutely no one had the capability.
It's really tough getting anything like this, like what you do and what I've done, manufactured in Australia.
Yeah. And so we were also in the process of having a few discussions with our pals Dogmite over in the US, who make absolutely stunning products.
Tell me about it.
They had just released the Looking Glasses, which was the dice box with the plexiglass on it. And we saw them, and we're like, I wonder if we could use those images on there. So we threw it over to them, and Lindsay from Dogmite Games she's, oh wow, okay, how many do you want? Oh, we want X number. And she's like, this is going to be awesome. Because she really loved them, the images. So we made a collaborative effort with Dogmite for that. And when it came down to it, she was the actual the driving force behind the glasses that we ended up doing, because she missed out on purchasing them. And when she saw them on social media, in the next conversation we had, she's like, oh, you have to make those glasses available because we can't find them anywhere. You can't get that stuff. No one makes atmospheric sort of elements to put on the table, which are that. And even though Dogmite do, it was some of the latest stuff, it was sort of like the driving force behind us trying to finish it up. But in the meantime, we did experiment with our apparel line, which that's one of them what I'm wearing right now.
Yep.
And it was an interesting endeavor because it was a very low investment sort of thing. It was just a matter of time and finding a print-on-demand service. But the biggest challenge with that one was actually finding a shirt that you'd want to wear, and thankfully we did. But a bit more on the pricier side. But I'd wear these all day.
Yeah, I'm wearing them off as well.
Yeah. Most of the time, if there are other shirt prints that we've seen people do, you put them on, you'll want to wear them for a couple of hours, but then they get scratchy or itchy. Yeah.
It's the same with the Arden shirts, actually. Before I even worked with Arden, I won this one from the PAX giveaway, and it's just been one of my favourite shirts since then. It's really soft and... Soft.
Yeah. It's probably from the same print-on-demand service, mate. When you know which one to pick, and you go through all the others, and you finally find the right fit, it's good. And they're not a cheap shirt, but they're absolutely lovely to wear. Sarah doesn't stop wearing. We just keep buying.
Yeah, I think I'm going to need to get when we move out eventually, get a place with a one room just for all the Meeples and Dragons stuff that I want.
We'll throw a couple of promos or something the other way too, mate. No worries.
Yeah,
A little bit
there's
easier on the
like
hip pocket.
one of everything, you know, and then just put it all in one room. I'll be good. That's kind of my goal, actually, is to almost clear out your entire line eventually.
Well, it's always growing. Like before we even finish one, we've already got ideas for the next.
Right. Okay, so I've got a challenge.
you're gonna be there a while, but we're always on the lookout for new people to collaborate with. It's just there's just so many new and interesting things that have been created these guys. But like these days with a lot of the new indie guys.
Yeah. Speaking of that, actually, did you guys get in on the Dark Matter Kickstarter that just happened?
Dark Matter?
Sci-Fi 5e.
Oh. No, that must have missed that one.
Oh man, I
It's
assume that
still
you would have
going,
been. No, it's finished, but I'm not sure if they've got like backer kit open still.
Mm-hmm.
They might. It's Mage Hand Press,
Okay.
and they did like a sci-fi futuristic space 5e
Okay.
setting. I backed for the digital tier, so I got the PDF. But it looks really cool. It looks fun. I'm looking forward to trying it out. I assume that you guys would have been all over it because you usually beat me to the punch.
Sometimes we miss out. And to be honest, the last month we've had our priorities have been on Spiel and the online convention sort of environment, so we've just missed it on our radar.
Yeah.
And to be fair, with October, there are a lot of Kickstarters going on at the moment.
Oh man, there was so many August, September. There were so many going on. I finally reached super backer status this year.
Oh wow!
I've
Really?
been aiming for it before I launched Squirrel Wars and Dueling Dungeons on Kickstarter, and because of how much good stuff has come out this year, it all happened. What was the other one that was on at the moment that was really good? I can't remember. There's a really good D&D one that's been floating around at the moment.
Is that the one that's that system? Because there's that, and funnily enough, he's a Brisbane boy too.
Not sure off the top of my head.
Trying to remember its name. I can't just mention in a stream without remembering its name.
That's one that is another one that's out right now that isn't really something that Meeples can stock because it's digital, but you might be able to talk with James about creating something cool. Is Burn Bright. I think you would dig that if you liked like Space Hulk and stuff like that.
Oh, Space Hulk.
It's his sci-fi RPG, and I'm playing it for the first time today, actually.
Okay.
So I'm a little nervous, but it's really interesting because you've got like species, culture, and story path.
Okay, I'm impressed already that he put culture in it.
Yeah, instead of race, class, etc. So I'm playing a Peacecraft, which is a sentient mech.
Okay.
An explorer story path, and my culture is from the Outer Rim mining worlds. So, like, your culture is just the planet you come from and the type of planet it is, rather than any specific racial traits and stuff like that. So it's really well thought out, and it looks really interesting, and I'm looking forward to reporting back after I've played it. But yeah, definitely something that I think you would enjoy if you.
I'll have to.
It's on Roll20.
What was its name again, mate?
Burn Bright. So Bright with a Y. And yeah, it looks really good. I've been itching to play it for a while, and if you ever want to have a game, just tap me on the shoulder and.
I think I'm booked out from now to Christmas, to be honest.
I'm already booked in February, man.
Oh wow! Okay.
I'm booked for a Pathfinder game in February. No, January, early January. But I've got other things happening around then as well.
Been diving into a little bit of Cthulhu here and there now.
I
trying to get a game up.
Haven't played it yet.
It's interesting. I died. So, admittedly, it wasn't my fault.
Yep. Nope. Sometimes it just happens.
Blew us up.
Yeah, of course.
But it's a very different sort of environment. It's sort of like TPKs aren't accidental; they should be expected
Mm-hmm.
straight from the start. Because at the end of the day, you're a bunch of regular characters. You're not these,
Yeah, you're just a bunch of people investigating
Yeah.
some spooky shit.
yeah, you're a journalist who's investigating something. You're someone who an ex-soldier, and it's a lot of fun, a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But I'll probably be a player before I ever try to do that as a
Yeah,
GM.
no, same. I'd like to play it before I try it. Speaking of Cthulhu, actually, did you see the new game that they've got coming out, Chaosium, that the I Speak Giant crew played? It's a
Must have
really
missed that one.
interesting one with like a D10 system instead.
Okay.
You get like a
Well-
dice pool of talent die or something it was called, and you just roll a handful of those, and depending on what you get to tell the DM yourself whether or not
Oh, okay.
your thing
Oh.
succeeds. And it's pirate themed.
Mm-hmm.
So,
That's interesting.
I have
Because
lost...
Cthulhu works on the D10 system, but
Yeah.
it's essentially D100 use percentage.
Yeah, no, this was a bit of a twist on that D10. It was like a dice pool thing instead. It was really interesting. It's like 7 Seas or something it was called. Sorry to anyone watching that I can't remember the name of it right now. But it looks really interesting, and you should check it out because obviously Ardent is partnered with Chaosium for Cthulhu content.
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, it looks cool.
Well, you're going to start seeing some pirate themed stuff on Arden, are we?
Well, if I have anything to do with it, we're going to start seeing some pirate themed stuff eventually anyway. Because
Well, you got the ship pack, the seas pack, so it wouldn't
Yeah.
be too much of an.
I think we do have a couple of pirate NPCs in there actually.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
You got like a ship thing. So
I'm still exploring the entire library at the moment. I'm focusing on my game that's coming up with B-Dave at the moment, and then I'm going to start really deep diving into everything else that we've got and learning how to create my own setups. And so we know that you back a lot of these indie Kickstarters and stuff like that. And it seems that you're starting to handle distribution to other game stores and things now. How does that feel, and where do you see that sort of thing progressing for Meeples?
Well, it feels a little bit intimidating, to be perfectly honest. It's not something we ever originally planned to do, but we started to have a number of requests. So, well, market dictates. So we explored it, and this is manageable. So we're starting to we're starting slow. We're picking up some smaller creations and IPs that just need a little bit more attention, I guess you'd say, than simply just bringing in an order,
Yeah.
packing up the order and sending it off. And we're looking at more of the little guys and indies who would love to get their product in, but the border can be quite surmountable for a lot of people, and COVID's just made it worse.
Yeah.
And when it comes to the whole crowdfunding, for a lot of local stores, it's very, very risky for them to crowdfund too much of them, and especially at the moment when they have limitations on the number of people that they can have in their stores, and the extra work they need just to allow people in their store. So trying to get smaller products, indie products, and make them accessible to them without higher shipping costs, I believe it'll go a long way. But we've even received, just to give you an idea, we've even received 2 or 3 requests. Actually, was it 3? 2 requests for wholesale of the tabletop classes that we created,
Nice.
and they're not even released yet.
Yeah.
So it looks like we're on the along the right track.
Yeah, well, that's really exciting. Like, especially for me and people like me, you know, like you said, the little guys, the indie game designers who are creating smaller things and don't necessarily have those connections. that's a really cool initiative, and I, for one, appreciate what you're doing. I know I've got a few other game design mates who would also appreciate what is happening. Especially for like smaller niche games, which will need more attention as well. I've got a buddy who's creating a Sailor Moon inspired magical girl game that comes with a comic as well.
Oh wow, that's very niche.
Yeah, but it apparently
niche.
is doing quite well from what I've seen. It seems to be getting a lot of positive feedback, which is really cool. People seem to be enjoying the previews of the comic and stuff like that. But obviously, that's not something that everyone would necessarily pick up. Some people wouldn't pick it up unless somebody told them to sit down and play it, and then they go, oh wow, actually this is the best thing ever. I know there's been games that I wouldn't have known that I liked until someone did that for me.
Yeah, that's, you know, who picks up Dungeons and Dragons without actually being told about
introduced to it, yeah. Like
or
I
even
know,
seeing a video of some kind.
yeah, I didn't start playing it until 2018, and I was already working in the game design industry at that point.
Oh,
And
really?
I was making my Hero Quest content and working on my own board games, and I started designing minis, and I was like, you know, if I'm going to design all these minis, I should probably try something a bit more advanced than Hero Quest. And we picked up the starter kit.
You're a youngin' in terms of D&D.
Yeah, I just very enthusiastically took to it. Right.
Well, to be fair, D&D 5th edition is probably the easiest to get into these days.
Yeah, I have heard that, and there's so much support for it as well.
Yeah,
which is one of the main reasons why it's a good avenue in. Because there are a lot of, from what I've seen out there are a lot of games that are easier to play, but they're not as well known, and they don't have as much support documentation.
Yeah.
And that community that can answer questions. Whereas, yeah, D&D really has that. You can just go, hey, I don't know how to do this. How does it work? And you'll get an answer. Or you can Google it, and there'll be an answer.
What do you mean one answer? You'll get like 25.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, and so, the final question I have for you is not too much of a doozy. If you were to play on a streamed game, whether that's an ongoing campaign or a one-shot, would you want to DM or play, and who would be your dream cast to play with you?
Interesting question. Well, for starters, I probably wouldn't want a GM. Largely because when it comes to the streaming world, that is a lot of pressure for a GM, and I have a lot of respect for anyone who is a GM and streams. It's not an easy thing to do, and to be honest, me trying to do any sort of different voiceovers, I'm downright offensive. They're terrible, absolutely terrible. I'm just not good with changing my voice into that nuance. It tends to be very but I'd happily be a player. But if I had to pick in my dream cast, and this is going to be a bit of a mix, probably would be Alison Jaffe from Critical Role, Felicia Day, just because she's friggin' awesome, Patrick Rothfuss. He had me sold on his Kingslayer series with Koth, because he's such a broken character. I just love him, and he's a bard. And probably finally would be Raymond D. Feist. He's an older author, granted.
I know Feist.
But, you know Feist?
Yeah, I grew up reading Feist and Salvatore. That's what... I was reading D&D before I knew what D&D was.
Well, Feist was the one who got me into the whole science, sci-fi, fantasy novels, because prior to that, I wouldn't read too much in the way of novels. I could read, I just had no compulsion until someone handed me a copy of The Magician. And I blew through that in a night.
I really need to go back and reread his books, because I haven't read them since I was like 15-ish. I enjoyed them, but I've forgotten them, and I never got to finish them all. At the moment, I'm trying to work my way through the Legend of Drizzt
Okay.
because got about 8 books in, and then they were still ongoing, so it was like $25 a book. Like,
To date, I have never read Legends of Drizzt or any of that genre from Salvador. Just have never read it.
oh, it's good. It's what got me in. The first one, the Icewind Dale trilogy, and the Cleric Quintet were kind of where I started.
Okay.
And
Well, you're talking about when you started reading this in what, past 2010 or 2000s? Lower. Okay.
yeah, I was like 12.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was just like 99-ish. I started reading them.
You got a lot more selection than was available for us. I started in the early 90s. But Magician, I reread that thing at least once every 2 to 3 years. It's one of those go-to books I go to, but I haven't read it more recently, largely because once I start reading, I have to reread the whole thing.
Yeah. I think those books were literally the only thing that saved me and helped me surprise anyone when I first started playing D&D.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was stumbling through the rules. But the amount of lore that I already knew was astounding because I'd read all those books. And I was like, oh, hey, okay. Yeah, this is where that's all from. Whoops.
Well, the more you read, mate, the more you can draw upon. I read anything I can get my hands on these days.
Yep, I played a game with Dungeon Dan, and I actually drew upon my knowledge of the Cleric Quintet to fudge up a white dragon because we were still in the frozen, the Icewind Dale area. We're in 10 Towns, actually, specifically. And I'd given my character the backstory that he'd spent some time at Candlekeep.
Yep.
Which is where the main character is from in the Cleric Quintet. And
how on earth did he get to Candlekeep, mate?
He was a very special kind of folk hero guy. He was a combination of like Nightwing and the Iron Monkey.
Okay.
So he went to Candlekeep to study with the monks of Penpag Da'an. And then I sort of incorporated that character and that he'd met Cataly and learned how to make his explosive darts.
Fair enough. Yeah.
And so I distilled some stuff out of what I could find in the tavern and created a little bandolier of darts for myself to go and fight this dragon. I died. I died.
But at least you tried and had fun doing it.
I did get to go out punching a dragon in the eyeball. So, that was pretty spectacular. But then I almost immediately got eaten after that.
Well, Candlekeep was probably the very first Forgotten Realm setting I had ever touched upon, largely because of the original Baldur's Gate games. That was my first forage into D&D.
I played those too, and for some reason my little 14-year-old ass did not click that they were D&D games. Just that they were just RPGs to me.
Minsc and Boo still my favourite characters. Actually, that's not true. That's not true. It's and I've forgotten their name. The Halfling and the Wizard.
Oh, yeah.
Those two characters. They're so evil. It's not funny. But one's a necromancer, one's a halfling. Some of the lines that they throw out those two is just hilarious. The necromancer is clearly nuts.
Yeah, no, I had them in my party for a little while. I was playing Baldur's Gate 1 a couple of months ago, and I'm currently working through Baldur's Gate 2 right now.
I never finished number 2. Never did.
It's on mobile. It's like $15. That's what I'm playing it on. I'm playing it on my little Samsung tablet. And even Neverwinter Nights is like revamped and available on your mobile devices now. So that's my next one. Because that one I always had on my laptops. And I would always get to almost the exact same point. And then I would be like, oh no, I'm out of hard drive space and I have to do this important thing. I need to get rid of something. Off goes the game. And then,
I keep wanting to change my character. That's my biggest fault. I do it in Skyrim all the time.
Yep. So I never finished Neverwinter Nights. I've got the special edition sitting in my my desk right next to me. But I am going to get the new version that's got updated graphics on my tablet instead.
Nice.
So, well, that's actually all the questions that I've put together. Is there anything else that you would like to tell us about Meeples and Dragons?
Good question. I guess really that we do have a blog which follows the story of our campaign that we're running. We're actually running the Lost Mines of Vandelver. I always get the last word mixed up.
Yeah, it's confusing that because they've got Phandalin as the town.
Yes,
But Vandelver is... Yeah.
It makes sense in the lore. It does make sense. It's just one of those little... They really should have named Phandalin a different name. But it was my attempt to get back into the seat of the GM because I'd been rusty as hell. Last time I ran a game was rehabbing a kid, and I just went to my old staple true 3.5. But 3.5 is a lot of work for both players and GMs unless you have all the books stored up here.
Yeah.
If you're constantly going back to the reference material, it can be a lot of work, but it is a lot of fun. So I thought I ran a game for a bunch of people who were interested, and then from there, one of the persons wanted to run his own game, 5E, so that's how I picked up 5E. But I didn't sit behind the GM screen since. I was getting a bit, what's the word? Jittery. I like writing stories. I like creating stories, and the storytelling aspect. So we grabbed Lost Mines of Vandelver. I got everyone. I basically said that I wanted to write a blog sort of situation, and as most campaigns go, it's already gone completely off the rails. Because it's always player driven. So you start off the campaign, and then you get a whole bunch of these player descriptions and stories, and you're like, oh, I can do this. Oh, this person wants this, and before you know it, you've gone way off book.
Yeah.
And it wasn't supposed to be going for as long as it has been. They were supposed to be towards the end, but I just got to the point where I'm like, I'm just going to steer into the chaos. It's more fun that way. So.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I think about 10 sessions in, and my players were leaving Phandalin for the first time after coming out of the Red Brand hideout.
But that's half the fun. Half the fun with that campaign is the ability to just make the town your own.
Mm-hmm.
You got all these different spots, and you can fill it in. And I think I completely converted over the Craven Dragon into a sorry, not the Craven Dragon, the drinking house. I completely converted it over to the Craven Dragon and made it a brothel, which tied into one of the female characters' backstories, because she's from Alasham, which is very Turkish-ish, and the whole harem sort of lifestyle and that sort of thing. But it's been a lot of fun. Gotten a bit more experience underneath my belt. But we do rewrite that blog and put that in our newsletter.
That's cool.
We are trying to get more with the community. COVID has screwed a lot of plans that we had. But we had a school program lined up where Sarah and I were going to have a weekly session.
Mm-hmm.
2 tables, 1 girl table, which Sarah was going to run, 1 boy table, which I was going to run, with the intention of basically integrating the 2 tables together and mixing them up and teaching the kids how to play, so that not only that they get the experience that I couldn't get as a teenager, but also get them in the GM seat so they can run their own games and become independent. And that completely got tossed in the bin and completely rewritten. So, but we still want to do that in the next year, and we'll shout out to the schools once again. From my point of view, it's always been the more people that get into RPGs and tabletop, the better.
Yeah.
It just has so much benefit. Plus, I'm also got an ulterior motive because when I'm dealing with the kids, and I've got my blue card and that sort of thing, but any more experience I get with kids and role-playing games and board games and all that sort of stuff, the whole plan is to slowly corrupt my little one as well into the genres.
Yep.
So she can see what mum and daddy doing. We've even got a couple of My Little Pony kit ready for when she makes the leap. And I've already had my nieces begging me to run a game, and now
have you seen the official crossover?
You mean the pack?
Yeah,
or
the Community Marks and Dragons pack?
I've seen the game. It's called Tales of Equestria. I haven't gotten it, but there is a pack for the minis themselves, which have a whole bunch of ponies.
At EB Games and Zing, there's actually a pack of My Little Ponies called Cutie Marks and Dragons.
Okay.
And it's all D&D ponies.
Yeah, I think I know the one you're talking about.
Yeah, full-sized ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've got it in my cupboard. But they actually had an episode where it was literally D&D, because I walked past it. The little one likes My Little Pony, so I walked past the TV and I stopped, turned around, because you know instantly when you see that dice, hang on, what's going on here? And I'm always shocked by, I'm not really, but I'm always pleased whenever I see D&D appear. And I even had one last night. Me reading everything, or anything I can get my hands on. I was reading a comic, I think it's called Accepted. It's up on one of those comic places. And one of the characters was saying, what's everyone doing over that table? Oh, they're playing D&D. It sounded like Homework the Game. They called it, because they're all kids. They're all teenage kids. So they wandered, the character wandered off. And then it's got 20 minutes later. I wonder where Arcus is. And the next minute, Arcus comes through, jumps on the table and says, I'm a half-elf. It just cracks me up every time I see something like that.
Yeah, no, it's always good. And I mean, a lot of these cartoons and stuff, it's only a matter of time until there's a D&D episode.
Yeah. These days. Wouldn't be surprised if there's one on SpongeBob.
There is.
Oh, well, there you go. I'll shock then.
Yeah, you can look up a picture and like a Mr. Krabs and SpongeBob and everything with elf ears and stuff on, and
it did come a long way from the 90s when no one really, you didn't admit to liking it too.
Yeah, no.
Now it's becoming like a social symbol.
It really is. It's really nice to just see people breaking down those preconceptions and just having a crack, because it is fun, and it helps you to, it helps with confidence, because learning to be able to tell a story on the fly and put yourself into these characters and problem solve and stuff like that, it really does affect your thinking in the rest of your life.
Well, the other thing that's really good for is role play with sort of consequences. Not necessarily always in a bad light. Some of them are also quite positive. But that's where the kids get the most enjoyment, because they can assume roles that they can't do in the playground.
Yeah, exactly.
Just can't do it. So, or they're not allowed to do it, I should say.
Yeah. No, that's exactly right. All right. Well, that is literally all of my questions that I have for you today, John.
Right.
So, thank you for joining us. I really appreciate you joining us for Spiel and joining us for this interview. I appreciate everything you're doing for both the role-playing and board gaming community. And I look forward to seeing what comes next for Meeples and Dragons.
Well, thanks for having me, mate. It's been interesting.
Yeah, thank you very much. And if you haven't already got it open, go and open up meeplesanddragons.com.au.
Yep, that's the one.
Right now. And have a look at all the fabulous things that they have on offer. Including the Ardent Roleplay cards, the 5e player screen, those amazing glassware, the Dragon Baggins, The Dogmite screens, the Valhalla screens are amazing, and I want one. There's just such a fabulous range of products over there. John and Sarah have been doing amazing things. So go and support some local store owners and creators, and therefore we'll be supporting more independent creators as well. Everyone wins, and you'll get some cool RPG gear. So thank you for your time, John, and we look forward to talking to you again soon.
Cheers.